we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock and the kingdom of Gleann Abhann, it's Shane Plays Radio, Geek Talk Radio. A journey into the things we love. Got a super cool show today. We're going to be talking about the Society for Creative Anachronism. And it's going to be really cool. So stick around for that. If you don't know what that is, you definitely want to listen in. If you're a normal listener of this show and you're not into what we're going to be talking about today, I would be just absolutely mind-boggled. It's super cool stuff. And we will get into that here in a moment. First, we've got the usual show notes. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining, listening in, whether you're listening live on 96.5 FM The Answer in the Central Arkansas area, or if you're listening via the online stream on 96.5 FMTheAnswer.com, or if you're listening delayed by podcast or on Krypton Radio. I'm just really glad that you're here with me today, whatever day that is for you personally. This is live Geek Talk Radio. It's just like political talk radio or religious talk radio or sports talk radio, but it's Geek Talk Radio. Love doing it, but it also does go out as a podcast. But for the live portion, one of the reasons I do it live is for interactivity. If people want to call in, you can call in at 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. Speaking of Shane Plays, the show notes for today's show are up right now at shaneplays.com. And there are notes on, I'm only going to have two news items today. And there's also notes on my guests and the Society for Creative Anachronism, the Wikipedia page on it, the official page on it, and also a kingdom finder. So if you're interested and you want to find the kingdom closest to you, that's linked on the show notes at shaneplays.com. Last week's show is archived on the blog. We talked with Michael Tierney and Steve Chenault of Chenault and Gray, who just both happen to be sponsored the show, but it just worked out. They're working on a cool project, the 100-year chronology of Edgar Rice Burroughs art, Tarzan and John Carter of Mars and all that stuff. And that did fund. That Kickstarter is going off like a rocket. There's still time to get in on that if you want. We do go out as a podcast. That'll be linked at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. And I'm also working on uploading all of the shows to get caught up on SoundCloud. And then all the new shows will also be on SoundCloud. So if you like SoundCloud, Shane Plays is gearing up its presence on there. Last but never least, we are carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi, KryptonRadio.com. So my guest today, I have three guests, but one of them is being very what's the word I'm looking? They're faded in the shadows. They're looking on from the shadows. So, and that is I'll mention her here in a moment. First, we have John Fulton, who is the president of the Society for Creative Anachronism. His moniker is Duke John the Bearkiller of the Kingdom of Gleann Abhann. I'm saying Gleann Abhann, correct?
It's Gleann Abhann.
Gleann Abhann. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even though I wrote it down. Yeah, Gleann Abhann. Gleann Abhann. All right, I'm going to say it again. Gleann Abhann. Okay. And Gleann Abhann is from like Memphis down to, what's the coverage there?
The coverage of Gleann Abhann is Western Tennessee from Memphis to Jackson, most of Arkansas, except for Fayetteville, essentially, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So we cover an area from the Gulf Coast all the way to Memphis, from Fort Smith all the way to Jackson, Tennessee.
All right. And that, of course, is returning guest Neale Carter, who was on a few weeks ago. And I found out he was part of the SCA. I was like, hey, let's do an SCA show. So he set this up or reached out, and I appreciate everybody being involved. And Neale's moniker is the Honorable Lord Brendan Chenault. Did I say that right? Okay, I got that one right. And it's Gleann Abhann. Gleann Abhann. So I know that's important. Lord Brendan Chenault of the Kingdom, once again, of Gleann Abhann. So thank you both for being here. And also, John, your lovely wife, Leslie, is hanging about, making sure that we do a good show. And she is the secretary for the board of directors. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay.
Excuse me. Her job is
executive assistant to the board. She does the minutes and does all of their anything they need sent out documented. That is what she does. The board meets 4 times a year. She goes to the board meetings and helps them.
I think that's one thing that people will be very impressed with the SCA is how structured it is. You know, you've got it's not just a bunch of people kind of randomly getting together. I mean, there's a structure here, and a leadership that kind of steers things and keeps it incredibly well organized, best I can tell. So,
yes.
And what is Leslie's moniker?
She is Countess Jane Fallada of Inglewood.
Okay, then. So very cool. All right. Right before I get to the news segment, I just have to say I got this song stuck in my head because the Thor Ragnarok trailer, I love it. They put Immigrant Song in it. Zach, play a little Immigrant Song, man. Oh, yeah. This has been stuck in my head. I love the trailer for Thor Ragnarok. They did a great job with it. Oh, yeah. I was playing this on the way in to pump myself up for the show. All right, go ahead and kill it there, Zach, before Led Zeppelin comes looking for royalties from me. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get, but I love that song. I think that was a great choice to put it in the Thor Ragnarok trailer. And Thor Ragnarok looks like it's going to be a really fun movie. So,
Yes, it
yeah.
does.
Yeah, but it's just a great song. If you can't listen to that song and don't get pumped up, I'm not sure you got blood in your veins. I don't know. Anyway, Zach, go ahead and turn on the microphone in the super secret newsroom and see if they're working today. There they go. Working on Saturday. Wow. Remember, folks, for every $1 of support that the show gets by Patreon, the news team gets a penny an hour raise. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. Come on. Win-win. I'm nothing if not generous. So, all right, here's the 2 news items that we have for today. I kept it very short because I want to talk about the Society for Creative Anachronism as much as possible on the show today. Wizards of the Coast has announced the new D&D storyline, and it's called the Tome of Annihilation, or the Tomb of Annihilation, and it's set for release on September 8th. And so what they've done is they've taken the Tomb of Horrors, which is one of the classic D&D modules of the day, and they've made it into a whole campaign. And I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, but the villain from Tomb of Horrors was the demi-lich Asarak, and that is going to be the main villain here. They've said it in the Forgotten Realms. I believe originally Tomb of Horrors was in Greyhawk back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. So, but now they came out with they just did Tales from the Yawning Portal, where they updated several classic adventures to 5th edition, and they gave notes for setting them in whatever setting you want. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't give some notes if you want to set the Tomb of Annihilation. So now, Neale, I know you're still an active gamer.
Yes,
How
I
about
am.
you, John? Are you
Yes, I am.
Yeah. What do you play these days?
I run a D&D 5 campaign.
Yeah.
I also play Savage Worlds with another group of friends.
All right. Well, it's Savage. I've never played it. I hear good things about it. I've seen it played. I've seen Savage World, that exploding dice thing, take some people out.
Yes.
So that's a pretty interesting mechanic. So, but yeah, this is a D&D 5e storyline. I'm actually running my group weekly. There's sort of a part 1 and part 2 to Out of the Abyss, the Underdark adventure. We're in between part 1 and part 2, and I'm taking them through White Plume Mountain, which people can, if they're interested, they go to check out Shane Plays on YouTube, and I post notes every week on that. So, and here's the other thing. Go ahead and play it. Play a theme song, Zach. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wonder Woman is taking the movie world by storm. Estimates are anywhere from 80 to 90 to even 100 million for the opening weekend of, and I thought it was Gal Gadot. I went and looked it up today. It's Gal Gadot. I thought it was Gadot. And yesterday I was on the Dave Ellswick show. He was saying Gadot. I was like, I'm going to go look this up. It's actually Gadot. So there's a whole there's several articles on how to pronounce it. Now, I got in trouble. Have you guys seen it yet? Have y'all seen Wonder Woman?
Yes.
You've
Not
seen
yet.
it?
Yes.
Okay. I went and saw it Thursday night. And we do this Geek Squad thing on the Dave Ellswick show about roughly once a month on Friday afternoons, and he likes to geek out. Most people think of Dave as just a political guy, but he gets into all kinds of different stuff, including geeky stuff. And I got in trouble because I texted Zach, my engineer, say, "Hi, Zach."
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I got in trouble because I texted Zach after the movie, and I said I give it a 7 out of 10. Right? I mean, that's a good. If you take 5 as average, it's not terrible. It's watchable. 7 out of 10 means I enjoyed it. Go check it out. Right? It's a fun movie. It's a good superhero movie. So he texted Dave Ellswick and said, Shane gave it a 7 out of 10. So the minute I walked in the studio yesterday, Dave's like, 7 out of 10? What are you smoking? What movie did you see? Da, 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 da. So I'm trying to, because he's taking it by, well, a 70% in school would be a C. I'm like, well, that's a different scale, right? But Dave's not seeing it that way.
7 for this movie is average.
No, it's not. 5 is
Yes, it
average.
is.
5
It's
is
average.
average. 7 is above average.
It's average.
Okay, I'm going to do this real quick. And I've got if people want to go to the show notes, there's an article from Geek and Sundry about the Tomb of Annihilation, which looks really interesting, out on September 8th. They're doing a great job of 5e, not only with the rules, but the product they're putting out. So I'm looking forward to that. But Wonder Woman, I linked from Box Office Mojo, which is, of course, a website that tracks and talks about how well movies are doing at the box office. People can go to the show notes and see that. It's going to do good. It's a good movie, right? This is my take on it. And with no spoilers, it's out of the DC Extended Universe movies they've done, it's definitely the best. It's got the best tone. It's got the best pacing. It's got a good story. Gal Gadot is spectacular as Wonder Woman. Great as Wonder Woman. Love her as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie itself, I think, for me, was a victim of its own hype, because for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been seeing nothing but gushing praise. We've been seeing Rotten Tomatoes is 8,000%. It exploded the earth how amazing Rotten Tomatoes is for this movie. So I'm expecting this is a game changer movie. This is going to be like the Citizen Kane of superhero movies, right? This is what I'm expecting. And it wasn't. It was a good, solid, fun superhero movie, good, solid action movie. The scene, I'm going to try not to be spoilerish for you, Neale, and others, in No Man's Land, it's fantastic. There's the Amazons, especially, of course, they're going to have the Amazons get into a battle. That's even been fantastic. Other great scenes. But overall, it was not the Citizen Kane of superhero movies. But it was a great movie. And I think DC needs to set up and go, wow, we made a movie that was positive and, all this other stuff, and tried to be true to the roots of the character, somewhat. They changed some things, and people love it. They need to pay attention, because so far in both Superman movies, Superman has killed somebody and was willing to kill Batman. I'm sorry. It's just, they're getting it wrong. Right. So that's all. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, because I want to talk about the SCA, but John, you've seen the movie. Zach, yes. You've seen the movie. If y'all want to, what did you think about Wonder Woman?
I thought Gal Gadot did great.
Yeah, she was really
everything
good.
you said. Chris Pine was okay.
I liked Chris. All right. Yeah,
played his part.
Yeah.
But it is. If DC learns from this, they've got a positive thing they can build on. It was definitely different. Left your movie kind of cool and happy, which is not been done.
That is the thing. You left. That was fun. I'm happy. I'm da-da-da-da. The other DC movies haven't been like that. Well, now I'm not talking about Chris Nolan's Batman. I'm talking about the extended universe stuff they've done so far. So, and another thing, this is like Steve Trevor and the Howling Commandos. Did you think of that? Yeah. Yes. So, okay, Zach, what was your quick elevator review on that?
Oh, it was, like I said, it was amazing to watch. It was fun. And I just loved her childish demeanor.
She was great. I liked how they did her lasso. Mm-hmm. There was a lot to love about it.
Everything she did with her fighting scenes, superpower scenes
was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
Some of the best stuff, even beats Marvel.
I will say, and I got to be very careful here, there's, of course, a bit of a twist. As with most movies, I twigged on that twist the very second I was like, that's going to be what's going to happen. It was. That's all I'm going to say.
Spoilers, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm in trouble with Dave Ellswick. Thanks, Zach. He was texting me today, because I texted Dave and I said, hey, Dave, have you seen Split? I said, it's a great movie. And he texted me back, yeah, it's just a 7 out of 10. So you've gotten me in trouble, man. You got me in trouble. Have y'all seen Split?
Not yet.
No, but we saw was it Get Out?
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
I
that
haven't
movie.
seen Get Out,
Oh, yes.
Get Out was made after Split.
Yep.
And Get Out was a big hit.
Yeah.
And they re-brought out Split.
Did they?
But because it was
Split-
made like last year.
Split is fantastic.
I've heard it's good.
It's really good. And if you're a fan of the Unbreakable movie from M. Night Shyamalan back in 2000, you'll like Split. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say. All right. So, okay, we're going to move on so that we could talk about the Society for Creative Anachronism. Once again, we are at John Fulton. He's with the president of the SCA. He's also and that's a 3-year term. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. His moniker is Duke John the Bearkiller. And Neale Carter, friend of the show, longtime member and active supporter. And you're also like nobility in your kingdom, right?
Well, the SCA, everyone is assumed to be minor nobility. That
Okay.
We don't really have peasants.
Everyone's at least an esquire.
Everyone's at least
Noble born.
noble
Okay.
born. Yeah.
All right.
Now, what I am is a kingdom officer, which means I'm responsible for an area within the area of Gleann, which I just described, this 4-state area. What I am is the Diamond Principal Herald, and that's kind of I do a lot of different things. If you've ever seen the movie A Knight's Tale with Heath
Sure.
Ledger,
Yeah.
okay, his character, Geoffrey Chaucer, that's a lot of what I do is the announcing of different tournaments. But there's also a registry of names and coats of arms. There's organizing the people who put together scrolls. People get a hand-painted scroll if they get an award, and they also get some sort of nice piece of regalia.
Okay.
And I'm responsible for helping to organize the artisans and the people to make those things. I actually have a staff of deputy officers that number about 30.
Wow. This is what I'm talking about. This is very well organized. This is, it's fun, but it's also serious
Yeah.
for a lot of people. I mean, they take it very seriously, even though it's for fun. And it's very well organized, which is attractive to me. You know, the more I was like, wow, this is really, you know, this is all set up, and, you know, you got this and that, and they're taking care of this and thinking of that. And if I'm understanding right, there's 30,000 official members worldwide, but when you take the people who are kind of affiliated with it, and so it's up to like 60,000.
It's at least, they did a study, a census about 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
We think right now we have about 30,000 members. Depending on who you talk to, we have anywhere from 30 to 60,000.
Okay, that's kind of the
people
numbers
who
I
play.
found.
Membership in the SCA is not required, and if you want to be an officer, you have to be a member.
Right.
But other than that, we have a lot of people who come, play, dress up, pick a time period, and just enjoy. But yeah, probably completely 60 to 80,000 people who participate worldwide.
Okay, so before we go more into how it's organized, let's try to paint a picture for people for what the SCA is. It's more than a Renaissance fair. Like, I think more people maybe know what a Renaissance fair is. So a Renaissance fair is a sort of Middle Ages reenactment. People dress up, or they try to kind of recreate what it would be like to go to a fair in the Renaissance, kind of a Middle Ages kind of thing. Well, Renaissance and Middle Ages are different, but Renaissance fair, people get the point that people kind of dress up and they reenact that time period. Now, SCA reenacts what time period specifically?
The general rule is 1600, 1601, back to what, Neale, the 4th century?
The actual official rules, which I read, is AD 800 to AD 1600.
So it covers Middle Ages plus.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
When do the Middle Ages technically end?
Middle Ages technically ended about the late 14th century,
Okay.
Age of Exploration, Christopher Columbus era.
Okay, because like by the time you get in the 1600s, you're getting more into the Renaissance, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And we use that cutoff 1600, 1601 because of the advent of gunpowder.
Okay.
And that's when armored combat, swords, shields, other weapons
Right.
died out, because at that point people could just shoot you.
Shoot you, right. Okay, so all right, so it's kind of like a Renaissance fair, but worldwide, highly organized, and it's not LARPing.
No.
Okay,
No.
LARPing is live action role playing, where you're kind of playing a role playing game but acting it out. It's not that. there's not like a script you're following or games you're trying to solve or something like that. It's there's like tournaments, there's pageantry, there's like all kinds of stuff going on, but it's not LARPing. I just want to make sure and it's not just cosplay.
No,
it's not just a lot of people wanting to cosplay, right?
It started out in the mid '60s as a backyard theme party.
Okay.
A number of people got together in Berkeley, decided to have a big party, used the Middle Ages, had a little tournament, had a party that everyone liked, and they decided to continue that theme and Neale is much more adept at the actual history of the SCA than I am.
Right.
Neale?
The SCA started May the 1st, 1966 in Berkeley, California. It was a backyard party hosted by one Diana Paxson, who was a science fiction fan and writer. And she hung out with a bunch of other science fiction fans, including Poul Anderson and Marion Zimmer Bradley.
Okay.
She was doing this party to celebrate. She was getting her master's in medieval literature and just finished up and wanted to kind of celebrate, let loose, have some fun. And she had some other friends, Dave Thulis and Ken DeMaff, who had served in the army overseas and spent some time in Germany where they had picked up an interest and some stuff on sword fighting. So all this came together in this backyard party, and everyone had a great time. It started at about 2 p.m. and lasted till the wee hours of the morning sitting around the campfire.
Right.
They decided to do some demos of what they did at a science fiction convention a couple of years later. And this was a world science fiction convention, one of the big world science fiction conventions that are held every year.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when we come back, because I can tell it's building.
It's building.
We're building.
Yeah.
So let's tease over the break. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. So it's gone from the backyard theme party to now they're going to show some stuff at a world science fiction. Right. And we're talking about the genesis of the Society for Creative Anachronism. So when we come back, we're going to pick right up, right there, Neale, right here on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, we're back on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. Remember, our phone number is 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. We are talking with SCA President John Fulton and longtime member and enthusiast and officer in the kingdom, Neale Carter, and the kingdom that we're in, and they're both in, and that I'm in, like regionally, is the kingdom of Gleann, Abhann.
You got it right.
I got it.
Great.
All right.
Awesome.
Oh, I forgot to ask, since I have so much power in this room, I can see the light shining off of you, John. Just for this show, just for the duration of this show temporarily, can I be Sir Shane of Plays? Would that be okay? Official, just for 1 hour.
Within this room, you may use whatever title you wish, of course.
Okay, up into the end of the show.
Up
so
until
I'll
that
even make
show.
it safer than that on you.
Yeah.
I am Sir Shane of Plays. I love it. All right, and of course, Neale's moniker, everybody that's in the SCA gets a moniker, is the Honorable Lord Brendan Shannock. And of course, John Fulton, as I mentioned earlier, is his moniker is Duke John the Bearkiller of the kingdom, once again, of Gleann, Abhann. So that just sounds like so much fun. Now, you talk about people can, I think we talked about off the air, Neale, people can invent their own, or not invent, but they come up with their own persona.
Right.
Some people go very deep into it. Some people kind of go a little bit lighter with it. It's,
Right.
it's just kind of want to make sure everybody's creative and has fun.
Well, and it also has to be historically accurate. And
Okay.
part of the job I do in the SCA, or part of the job I'm responsible for overseeing in the SCA, is helping people to find the right historical name. Because these monikers, these persona names that you've mentioned that we have, we can register them through the SCA. It's not required, but once it's registered, only I can be Brendan Shannock until I release it.
Okay. Now, I want to, here in a moment, I want to get back to, we were talking about the history of the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism, but right before the break, talked about how it started literally as a backyard theme party, kind of a perfect storm started coming together, and it was about to be, some things were going to be demoed at a World Science Fiction Convention. Okay, so we hung there, so we're dangling on the precipice of doom right there. But before that, how did you come up with Brendan Shannock? And John, how did you come up with Duke John the Bearkiller? So I'm just curious, real quick on that.
Okay, Brendan I stole off of one of my cousins. I come from a very large Irish Catholic family.
Okay.
My mom was one of 8 kids, and her maiden name was Kelly.
Okay.
Brendan is one of my cousins, Brendan Kelly. He lives in Michigan. Brendan, I doubt you'd be listening since you're more of a sports nut, but hey, Brendan. Shannock comes from a good friend of mine whose SCA moniker was Lady Aisling Nee Shannock, and she helped me get back into the SCA after a brief hiatus.
Okay.
And so I took the last name to kind of honor her and her efforts to pull me back in.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So it's meaningful to you.
Right.
All right. How about you, John? How did John the Bearkiller come to be?
Well, I'm a rather old person, but many decades ago, there was a sports show in Memphis at the Cook Convention Center. It was there for about 6 days. They had a wrestling bear. So I had done a lot of wrestling in the high school, early years of college. So I got convinced to go to this sports show, got in line.
Like to literally wrestle a bear.
457 pounds, 6'4" brown bear.
Okay.
But it was a nice bear. In between throwing people out of the ring, they would feed it Kool-Aid.
He was a honey of a bear?
He was a great bear. But they had him muzzled and declawed. So I got in there and managed. I'd taken judo for a long time.
Right.
Managed to do a heel lock, which is basically just put my heels up. So I tripped him, landed on top of him. I've got 5 or 6 pictures of me wrestling. So that's how I got the nickname.
Now, did the bear get upset while you were exerting dominance on this bear?
There is a picture of me on top of the bear, looking at the bear, but they don't have a picture of the bear getting up, grabbing him around my head, and just throwing me around the ring for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. So I got that nickname. A couple years after that, 1974, heard about the SCA through science fiction.
Right.
And joined and having little imagination.
Yeah.
Took my real first name and then add the Bearkiller.
Well, it works.
And it works.
It works.
It works for a very simple man.
Sorry.
That's a great
beautiful.
story. It's a great story. I've heard this story before.
This flailing around in this ring with this bear. Okay, anyway, that's a great story. I could not have expected that. But anyway, that's why I love light rate. You never know what's gonna happen. So, okay. So, Neale, now you have to try to top that.
Okay.
With what happened at the World Science Fiction Convention.
1968 World Science Fiction Convention in Oakland, California. They had a demo. And I've seen pictures of this demo. I wasn't around then. There were about 100, 150, 200 people easy watching this demo. And they took the SCA, and the two gentlemen I mentioned earlier, Dave Thulis and Ken DeMaff, who were both in the military. It kind of propagated to the military as well. So you got two parallel lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so 50 years later, we now have 20 kingdoms worldwide.
Right.
And groups everywhere from Johannesburg, South Africa, to Seoul, Korea, to Osaka, Japan, all throughout Western Europe, because we spread with both with the science fiction community and the military.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So this is I believe this is from the SCA About page, but it says founded as a nonprofit in 1966. The Society for Creative Anachronism is an international organization dedicated to researching and recreating the arts and skills of pre-17th century Europe. Our quote-unquote known world consists of 20 kingdoms, as you mentioned, with over, and this number I understand is can fluctuate depending on who's analyzing the data, with over 30,000 members residing in countries around the world, 30,000 being on the low end. Members dressed in clothing of the Middle Ages and Renaissance attend events which feature tournaments, royal courts, feasts, dancing, various classes and workshops, and more. So that's kind of, the official description. Now, from what I understand, the name, I guess somebody went out to fill out the nonprofit paperwork and you got to have a name.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll just throw something in there. And they didn't expect that to be the name. But right. I guess it stuck, and it became the name.
Marion Zimmer Bradley, who is a noted science fiction author, she wrote The Mists of Avalon, which they even made into a TV movie
series. Yeah,
was the one who came up with the moniker.
Okay, so but now is that true that it was like we just need something quick, and then it stuck? Is that They needed a name to rent, get some space to meet at the University of California at Berkeley. And so that's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Like most cool things, it was a happy accident.
Yep.
So, well, good. Okay, so now that I've read the words of what it is, tell me, let's say that Neale is like Shane. We're having a tournament. Y'all have tournament. In fact, there's a big tournament going on this weekend out of Mississippi in this kingdom.
Yes.
There's tournaments a lot. There's a kingdom of Gleann Abhann website, and I put people go to the show notes at shaneplays.com, and there's a kingdom finder. You can put in your state or your country, and I think maybe Canadian province, if I remember right, and find your local kingdom. And so you can just put in Arkansas, and you'll find, the kingdom of Gleann Abhann, which is what I did. Went to the website, and there's events like crazy going on all the time. So let's say Neale is like, Shane, you got to go check out this tournament. So I go. What's paint a picture? I show up. What am I going to see? What's going to happen?
The first event I went to, I didn't know really what it was. We got in a car, drove from Memphis to Atlanta, and a lot of this has not changed. Showed up, people wearing costumes, sewing, doing arts, music, crafts. There are merchants who sell stuff. They'll have a tournament. We use mainly rattan for heavy weapon. Mm-hmm. We use rapier.
The rapier fighting was really interesting to me that I saw.
In fact, they just created a peerage, which is, there are many awards in the society that you earn through service or activity. Rapier, which existed for well over 30 years, was just made one of the 4 major activities society-wide that you can get a major award. Sounds like
it's from
Christmas story.
A major award. You get a big leg that you put in your window. No, you get a nice award.
Yes. Scroll, title, form of address.
Right. But it's, from what I understood, the rapiers are real rapiers, but they're they're safetied on the end.
Yes, they have
Yes.
a safety tip.
But I mean, you're really, I don't know if fencing is the right word.
It
but
is fencing.
Yeah.
It's a kind of fencing.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of friends who participate here in Little Rock in our fencing community.
Yeah.
And they train. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a serious athletic activity. They study videos, they study sword manuals, and they train and practice on a weekly basis, learning the arts of the sword, either heavy or light.
Right.
Trying to recreate the authentic form of style. And the big thing seems to be the difference between German and Italy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you, and this is not SCA. I get that. But it seems to me that there's a rising interest in, I see a lot of YouTube videos on, I think they call it European martial arts or something.
Western martial arts,
Western martial arts. And they get really deep into all the different weapon types and how you would use them. So I imagine there's a little crossover in interest between, SCA and that. But I see more and more of that popping up on YouTube.
Well, it's interesting. The Western martial arts community, some of it grew out of the SCA. For a long time, the SCA was the only place you could practice this kind of
Right.
thing. But the SCA style of fighting is kind of a mishmash of different things. It was kind of made up and kind of grew organically. It's
Right.
not a formal martial art.
Right.
The Western martial arts community
Well,
started...
they want to be as historically accurate as possible, right?
Yes.
Right, and they wanted
a
a structure, much like Eastern martial arts have appreciated for so many years, with sort of ranking systems and belts that they couldn't get in the SCA. So there's a lot of crossover. There are a lot of people who play both SCA and Western martial arts, and vice versa.
Well, they're both fascinating to me. But just for a more overall reenacting the time period, SCA is the way to go, because Western martial arts is just about the weapons, right? Where SCA is so much more than that. It's a whole whole experience of what
We have built a
reenacting
culture
right.
of social interaction and historical study. And
Right.
It's, you talk about what you do at events. Just if you name it, if it was done in the Middle Ages and it was worth doing, and
So
worth
you'll
recreating.
people doing arts and crafts, doing music,
Yes.
dancing,
Archery,
right?
cooking,
Like drinking authentic mead. I don't know.
Making authentic
making
mead.
authentic mead.
Blacksmithing, jewelry
Now that
making.
would be I would love to see the blacksmithing. And I guess there's courtly things going on too, right? Like pageantry and we're naming a new lord or a new king. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things going on, right?
each of the kingdoms, every 6 months, except for in most of the kingdoms, there's a large tournament with heavy combat, rattan wrapped by duct tape.
Right.
The winner of that gets to be, along with someone they fight for, carry a token on their belt, gets to be king, depending on who wins, king and queen, or sometimes nowadays, king and king, depending on what you want, of that particular kingdom for 6 months. They decide awards, they hold court, they put on the pageantry, along with everybody else in the kingdom that works, but that is our structure. All of our awards that we use derive from the crown structure that we have.
So let me ask you this. So let's say that I go into this tournament and I win and I become king. And then whoever's token I have on my belt becomes, the person sitting in the throne next to me.
Yes.
Right. So is it an honorary title, or do they participate in like actual administration of things for 6 months? Or
The SCA has a modern structure. Some of what Neale does with his office is deals with money and registration and stuff. But the vast majority of what we do outside of insurance and administering stuff and taking care of legal questions is the medieval structure. The crowns do have a great deal of authority in that. But there is what officers can do, what the structure can do. We have a basic set of rules called Corpora. All of the kingdoms, all of the SCA, and our affiliate organizations worldwide use this as our set of rules. It establishes how things are done, but it flexes so that wherever you go, you have different types of flavor. Seattle, Washington groups will play a little bit differently than the Little Rock groups, but there's enough flex in the rules that you can do.
but
fun.
overall rule,
We stay within that structure.
So I guess that it sounds to me like that would, because there's got to people think that like you get a whole lot of people together and there's a little bit of mead, and there's fake swords, and what do you do with that one person who gets a little bit too carried away? That's just not allowed to happen, right? Yeah, right. I mean, it's not just anything goes. There's not some guy who goes, I'm really the barbarian Mongol horde emperor, and I'm taking you guys all out, and goes crazy because he's had a little bit too much mead. We have
both a set of rules, to protect people and protect the organization. And one of the nice things about the SCA that I like a lot is we're pretty self-policing,
which is good because people care, right?
Yeah, people care. It's all there's a culture of honor and courtesy, and that's one of the things that keeps drawing me to the SCA. Is that
we are sorely lacking that in the real world right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But your word, you are as good as your word. These things mean something more than just words.
No, that's not. And now this is all ages, right? I mean, there's families. Yes. It's not, it's family friendly.
It is absolutely family friendly. Okay. I've got a bunch of friends who have essentially raised their kids in the SCA.
This definitely sounds like the kind of organization that relationships and marriages come out of, and that it's a family thing, and that it's, I get both of you. John's kind of pointing around and smiling. I'm imagining, John, you and Leslie met
in the society. How about you, Neale?
My wife basically and I met because she wanted to try out the SCA.
There you go.
And answered my personal ad, which mentioned, hey, I'm in the SCA, because it's such a big part of my life that I wanted to give whoever was...
fair warning.
Fair warning, yeah, exactly.
All right, I love it. All right, so when we come back, I'm going to get another break in because we got to pay the bills. But when we come back, I want to talk about why you personally love the SCA. What is it that gets your heart, glowing when you think about the SCA, and not just your wives? So the other things about it too. So anyway, I'm going to throw some love on a sponsor, and then we'll cut to a break. And when we get back, we'll talk about why do you personally love it and how can people get involved, right? So it doesn't matter if we sit here and brag on the SCA for an hour and don't tell people how they can get involved. That's not very smart, is it? Okay, before I give the Game Goblins ad here, I want to remind everybody that on June 17th, all day from like 10 in the morning till midnight is free RPG day. So I'm working with Game Goblins. We're going to have the Game Goblins with Shane Plays free RPG day at Game Goblins. It's going to be I think we have like 20 different games lined up of multiple different systems. I'm running the Star Trek Adventures play test. There's a whole lot of other games in the mix. Your D&D, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, Shadowrun, GURPS. I mean, there's a good wide range. I think Numenera. There's a good wide range of games so that people have never played a game system before or have never played RPGs, or if they're a veteran, just come on out and have some fun. It's going to be free. There's going to be free RPG Day swag. I think there's going to be door prizes, giveaways every 30 minutes. It's going to be all day long. So come on out and check it out. It'll be a good time. But here's the official ad. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees. Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. And I believe they're having adult game night there tonight. This is Saturday, June 3rd, for those of you that are listening by podcast. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as The Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio from Little Rock. But today, we are also broadcasting from the kingdom of Gleann, Abhann. Gleann, Abhann. That's the kingdom that I reside in geographically.
Actually, you reside in the barony of Small Gray Bear, if you're in the Little Rock area.
Well, there you go. Of the Society for Creative Anachronism. And for this show only, for the next 7 or 8 minutes, I'm also Sir Shane of Plays. But that expires. That's a very, very limited title.
Very limited.
Because I just happen to be sitting here with the president of the SCA. So it's incredibly limited. In fact, if I leave that door right there, it doesn't follow me. So just playing around with that. All right. So we're talking about the Society for Creative Anachronism. Think of a Renaissance fair, but worldwide with amazing events and organization and participation and just all kinds of cool stuff. We've been talking throughout the show about how well organized and how large this organization is. What I want to talk with my guests, I've got John Fulton, who's the president of the SCA, also known as Duke John the Bearkiller, because he really wrestled a real bear in Memphis. I ain't lying. And then Neale Carter, of course, is the Honorable Lord Brendan Shannock. And we're talking with them. And before the break, I said, when we come back, I want to ask why. No, don't tell me about the SCA. Why do you love it? Like, what is it in your heart that is warm when you think about the SCA? So I'm going to start with you here, Lord Brendan, and then we'll go with Duke John the Bearkiller. So Neale, what is it that you love about the SCA?
To me, it's the people. I have met some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life in the SCA, and it's what keeps me going in the SCA, is all these great people that I've met and become friends with from around the country, some cases around the world. I traveled to London, England about 12, 15 years ago and got to hang out with SCA people in London.
Yeah.
And so it's really the camaraderie, it's the people that really make it for me in the SCA.
All right. And you met your wife tangentially because of the SCA.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Duke John the Bearkiller. What is it you love about the SCA?
Well, that's kind of changed over the years. When I got in, I was young. I had too much imagination. I wanted to hit people with sticks. Attempt to chase women. Horrible attempt. And 20 years old, wanted to drink.
Leslie, did he hit you with a stick?
No, I did not hit my wife with a stick. But through that, I became a pretty good fighter. I've won 6 crown lists, never been defeated. Did the king thing for a while, but at some point, I started really grasping, as Neale said, what everybody did, what everybody believed that were a lot more serious about taking what they believed as something you could do in terms of what you would want, how you would want to be treated.
Well, like Neale said before the break, there's your word is who you are in the SCA, and there's a culture of courtesy.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you add family and strong relationships on top of that.
And we're like any other organization. Sometimes we have problems. That's what my current job does, is deal with those problems and make sure they are settled, because the people that are in the SCA, what we've done over the last 50 years and what they've given to me, what the organization has given to me, means that I would like to have something for people to have 20 years from now. So I owe a great debt to that and what the people have done and what we try to do. Again, not always successful, but
when you get a large group of people together, it's not always going to be perfect because people are not perfect, but it sounds like that you're definitely trying. And all joking aside, the SCA sounds like the kind of organization that if I ran up and hit a lady with a stick, there'd probably be somebody would mention that. So,
yes, well,
just a little bit. Yeah.
In our organization,
all joking aside,
well, we do have a lot of women who wear very good armor, who are excellent fighters.
Right. Well, outside of the bounds of the duels.
Well, no, outside of the field of combat, that type of behavior is not allowed.
So you have a pretty high participation of women in the combat?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So and I know, because for some people, especially as you said, the younger people, when I first heard of SCA, it was described to me as you get to have medieval weapons and beat on each other. And I'm like in junior high, right? And I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard of, right? So for the people that appeals to, I mean, you can do combat. There's rules and this and that and the other, but you have tournaments and stuff like that. But there's also crafts. There's, blacksmithing. You learn how to make mead, just all this really music, just all this other really cool stuff.
You are allowed to go all in, or just show up on a weekend and get away from everything.
One of these days I would like to do that. I'm in a phase of my life right now. I started late with my family, so I've got a 3.5-year-old. But if me and my wife can get down there with him, he would love it. But I would love it. I probably wanted to go to an SCA thing since the 80s, and I've just never gone. When I first heard about it, I was like, "What? You get to beat on people? What?" So it's just amazing. Okay, so we've got just a couple of minutes left here. There's going to be somebody out there listening, probably more than one person, is like, "This sounds really cool. How do I get in?" Whether they're from Little Rock or not, what's the best next step?
Best next step is contacting your local group. Every local group has an officer called a chatelaine. The chatelane's responsibility is to help new people kind of get into the SCA by providing loaner garb, loaner equipment.
Okay, so there's that's the thing. They're if they don't have their equipment, their outfit, and all that, somebody can help them with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
They don't feel out of place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our local chatelaine is Samantha Lee. She's very good. She's a very sweet lady. Here in Little Rock, Arkansas. You can find contact information for any local group through the SCA.org website, which will then link you to the Kingdom website, which will then filter down to whatever local group is closest to you.
Right. And I'm sure people could type in, just for grins, Fayetteville, Arkansas, SCA. If they went that in Google, hopefully they could find, I don't know if
you can get through Facebook. If you type in, in the search thing for Society of Creative Anachronism, SCA Inc., you can probably find it through there. Or like Neale said, through the website. But it's pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it is pretty easy.
And I do have people can go to SCA, that's Sierra Charlie Alpha.org. Go there. There's information about the SCA, and there's, how to hook up with a local organization. If for some reason you can't find your Kingdom lookup thing, go to shameplays.com, and there's show notes for today's show, and the Kingdom lookup is linked right there. So go check that out. And that's how I found the Kingdom of Gleann Abhann website. Yes. So, and started checking all that out. So, guys, any last words? We've got about a minute.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah.
And,
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm enjoying my last about minute of being Sir Shane of Plays.
53 seconds.
53 seconds. Okay, guys, I hate to do this to you because you've been so nice, but every week I have the bad joke of the week. I have to do
Here
it.
it comes.
I'm sorry. I have to do it. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, you probably heard this before because I went and found something that would be kind of apropos. Why did the king go to the dentist?
Why did the king go to the dentist?
He needed a crown?
Yep, to get his teeth crowned. All right. Yeah, you're not president for nothing.
No, he's not.
That's right.
So there was I looked up for medieval jokes, and there was a lot of really great stuff out there. Thanks so much for coming on. Really enjoyed meeting you, John. You, Leslie. Good to
Shane.
see you again, Neale. And I would love to come out and check out the SCA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sounds like an amazing organization. Folks, we'll catch you next time. Next week, we're going to have an interview with the founder of RPG Day and learn more about where the event came from and, how it's organized and everything. And then the week after that, we'll be live from Game Goblins for Free RPG Day. That's it for this week on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio. We will check you next time.
Yes! Behold, my Lord Ulrich, the rock, the hard place. Like a wind from Geldland, he sweeps by, blown far from his homeland in search of glory and honor. We walk in the garden of his turbulence.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.